Welcome back to Impact Show. So I'm doing something a little bit different here. Not only am I shooting it outside of the Newport Back Bay, I'm interviewing one of the greatest legends in my life, in the whole business that I've created, but you know what? He's actually added a lot of spark to our agency and the Internet Marketing Association. No one other than Hall Roosevelt. Hall came to me in the weirdest way. So he was introduced to me by Larry Armstrong, who's been interviewed in our show. And he said, hey, you got to meet the son of one of my really good friends, Delano Roosevelt. His name is Hall. Super impressive young guy. He'd be great for your PR firm. So I met Hall. We met at the Long Beach airport. I'll never forget. He shows up in like cargo shorts and like a button-down shirt. And I'm like, okay, maybe Palmer Luckey can get away with that, but who is this guy? A couple of weeks later, he joined our firm, and he's been the most valuable player. Not only a great attribute to our agency and to all of our clients, but I've learned so much from Hall. He's one of the most thoughtful individuals I've ever worked with, fast become a friend. I got to meet his wonderful family and friends that he grew up with. He became president of our company in his 20s, doing great. And then all of a sudden he comes to me, I'm thinking, okay, what more can we do together? And he drops the big bomb on me saying, hey, I'm gonna take a little bit of time off and I'm gonna go on the PCT. And I said, well, what does that mean? And he said, well, I'm gonna take several months off to go on something, a journey that I've wanted to do my whole life or my whole adult life, and hike the Pacific Crest Trail. And it's something that inspired me so much that I wanted to share Hall's story with all of you. So Hall, maybe you can just give a quick background to our audience, a little bit about your background, where you grew up, where you went to school, and then how you sort of came to PCT. I know you've been an outdoorsman your whole life, but you know, there's a difference between going hiking for a few days and going on a several-month journey from the border of Mexico to the border of Canada. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, it's a lot, but thanks for having me. You've always been such a great mentor to me. I've learned a lot from you. We've experienced so much together. Born and raised in Southern California, grew up here through school. For college, moved to Australia, went to a university out there. Solely for the reason of surfing. As I got older, I started to get away from the team sports and became more interested in these individual outdoor sports. It started with surfing, and that really evolved into camping, hiking, sailing, rock climbing, fishing. Just being outside was really where I was being drawn. Straight out of college, as my kind of graduation celebration, that was when I decided, okay, I want to do something big. Mm-hmm. And at that time, and with my experience at that time, something big was looking like a 200-mile hike that's probably going to take 2 to 3 weeks. Right. And that was in the form of the John Muir Trail. So that goes through the most pristine section of the High Sierra. Mm-hmm. And you're going over mountain passes. You're not stopping in any kind of cities or towns. You are out there. Right. And after that trip, man, I finished that trail and I felt so strong and confident in myself, and just knowing that, okay, I can use my body in this way and I can overcome any challenge that I meet. I took a lot from it. And I think I used that confidence and that experience, the patience, and that trickles down into your everyday life. Mm-hmm. And whether it's, you're working or you're just living out your everyday moments, It really works into your life that way. So ever since I did that trail, I never forgot about it. Right. Almost every day. I mean, it took years for that buzz to wear off a little bit, but even after years had passed, I still think about it. Anytime I'm outside, I'm camping, I'm hiking, I'm like, man, that was incredible. Sure. And it's just, it was almost a seed that was planted and just continued to grow. Right. And, come 8 years later, since that moment, here I am now, and I'm just chasing an even bigger dragon.
Your career has started, and then now you have this in the back of your mind, this trail that you did. And was there this debate going on inside, like, is this the right time to do it, or should I do it later? And
So it really just comes down to chasing your passions and realizing what's truly important in your life. Right. The moment that I decided that I want to do this was, I watched so many documentaries, read so many books about people overcoming great challenges, going on incredible journeys, facing adversity. I love those stories, and they all say the same thing. It kind of clicks. You're like, no one's going to hand this to me on a silver platter.
Right.
And ever since then, it's been working hard every day to get to this point. Right. It goes from the border of Mexico to the border of Canada, 2,650 miles. Mm-hmm. Every major mountain range between Mexico and Canada, I'm going to be hiking through it. So pick the hardest route to get to Canada and I'll be going straight through it. You are suffering up and down over mountains, crossing rivers, snow, heat, wind, the outdoors. It can be very raw and very challenging.
Talk a little bit about what you pack going on the Pacific Crest Trail, right? Like, so what's in your bag? Do you have a 6-pack of beer? Is it just like your sleeping? Give us what's in your arsenal.
When you're carrying your weight on your back, every ounce matters. Mm-hmm. The heavier your pack is, the more susceptible you are to injury. Right. So the name of the game is go as light as you can, but bring what you need to survive. Right. In general, the gear that I'll be bringing, plus food and water, I'm going to be averaging, I'd say between 20 and 30 pounds. Mm-hmm. Really your bare necessities, like what you need to survive. And then on top of that, it's going to be your food and your water. Water, you're using natural water sources most of the way. Mm-hmm. Creeks, rivers, streams. The desert section can be very dry at times, and there's long water carries. Sometimes you need to plan ahead and know, okay, for the next 30 miles, there's not going to be any water. I need to stock up and carry a heavy load. In general, I'll be packing maybe 3 to 5 days worth of food at a time. Right. Then you stop into a town, get more food, maybe sleep in a nice warm bed in a motel, a hotel. Sure. It's a single established trail. So there is a singular, at least 16-inch wide track of dirt, rock, mud, snow, whatever. Awesome. It's very well established and very well maintained. Good. There's a Pacific Crest Trail Association. There's a lot of signage, there's maps, GPS systems. It's pretty hard to get lost out there.
And what would you say would be the most gnarly part of the trail where it's a little bit hairy? Is it crossing water or is it mountains? Where would you see the greatest obstacles?
The biggest wall that people hit, so the first 700 miles of the trail is considered the desert section. Okay. That's Southern California all the way up to the beginning of the Sierra Nevada mountain range. Mm-hmm. Once you hit the Sierra Nevada mountain range, that's where things change. That's where people are truly tested. And a year like this, like I said, with the snow, that is causing a lot of people to cancel, postpone their plans, maybe even wait until another year. Right. The highest risk is actually when the snow begins to melt and there's in the mountains tons of river crossings. Yeah. And you can guarantee those rivers will be absolutely raging this year.
So you're going across these rivers in that same clothing with your backpack, you're getting absolutely drenched, and then you're up in the mountains, so the altitude may be cold. You're sitting there with wet clothes. You have to problem solve constantly. Constantly.
You need to know exactly what you're getting into. You need to be able to accept the potential consequences. And at this point, I don't know if I will be going into the mountains or not. It's a decision that I'll have to make when I get there.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about sleep, right? We think about food and water, the common nutrients of life, but sleep is a really big part of just our day-to-day. What's your sleep regimen going to be like on, all these adverse climates? And do you have like a tent? Like, what do you sleep on at night?
Yeah, so I will have a tent. What I sleep on is a wonderful little inflatable, insulated air mattress. So it's very small, very thin, very light. And it can be hard in a tent. If the wind's blowing, it could be absolutely slamming, flapping. Sure. Could be raining. Right. And you're exposed to the elements.
I guess, putting myself in your shoes, having taken our children camping around, their youth programs at the YMCA, there's like 2 or 3 nights I can go to and I'm at my limit. And here you're going to be going for several months. There's an appetite we all have for patience and how far we could take things. And this seems to be like you're going into a delta that you've never even been to yourself. So what sort of fear, if any, do you have going into this? Just curious.
Well, yeah, I am truly going into the unknown. I have never challenged myself this far physically or mentally. Yeah. And, I truly don't know if it's something that I can do. But that's kind of why I want to do this. Right. I know it's going to be a sufferfest. There's going to be incredible highs celebration, beauty, fantastic experiences and feelings, but there's going to be incredible lows. Finding the outer limits of my comfort zone is really like what I want to do. Right. Because in the past, anytime I have suffered or experienced some kind of uncomfortable situation, right, you come out of it different. You know, right, you've learned something. You're stronger, you're smarter, you're more experienced.
As we wrap up this discussion, I'm curious, you know, you've been in the business world with me for several years. I mean, 7 years we've just been pounding the pavement together. We've traveled together around the world. We've done conferences and you've met clients. We've done lots of conference rooms. I mean, what a stark 180 from what you're about to do, right? You know, given what you learn about yourself, even for that hike you did 7 years ago, the 200-mile one, what sort of learnings do you draw from that into the conference room, you know, as the business professional, Hall Roosevelt?
I think one strength that I have in my career is, you know, just keeping my cool. Yeah. It takes a lot to get me really like hyped up, you know, like
maybe I should go on a hike.
in situations of panic, right, I'm really able to stay calm, yes, assess, and just act in the moment. Constantly juggling and moving and pivoting and reacting to things and coming up with solutions. Right. That's what I'm going to be doing every day. Yeah. You know, I'm going to be hiking in unfamiliar places. I don't know where I am, yeah, and I don't know what each day is going to bring. Sure. I'm constantly in the unknown, right, and I need to be able to observe and react appropriately. And, you know, being able to find comfort in the uncomfort, yeah, you just thrive, especially in the professional world. Sure. I think it gives me so much strength, so much confidence, and I'm just really prepared for anything that can come my way.
Last question. So, you know, we got thousands of entrepreneurs, business people watching the show right now. They're learning from you. A lot of them have their own Pacific Crest Trail ambition, but something's keeping them from doing that, be it family, children, spouse, work, career. You just get comfortable. And you play the routine over and over again. You get better at the routine, you get stronger at the routine, but that flame inside, that goal, that PCT is still on hold. What sort of advice do you have for them to unlock that key?
It's probably, you know, the first thing I think of is challenging yourself on a daily basis. And it doesn't have to be some grand 1,000-mile journey, right, but just try little things that might scare you, frighten you, make you uncomfortable. I think there's, it might be a Japanese practice that they've been doing for centuries. I think it's called misogi. And it's the idea of just regularly pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, whether it's physically or mentally. And I think if you practice that, you could fail, but you could also succeed. Right. And maybe it's even learning from your failures, but, right, but showing yourself that you can do these little things can maybe open up the gate and open up your imagination to greater things or greater goals that you might have.
So cool. Well, I will end with that note, Hall. Thank you so much for doing this interview. Part of our partnership that Hall and I have is really around trust and friendship and family. And we're so excited for you. My family, the community that you've served, KCOMM, IMA, IEC, all our leaders are all watching this and are all behind you. And while you might find moments of loneliness or quiet, just know that you have this huge community of real deal people that care about you and are going to follow your story. This interview actually is taking place at the onset of Hall's journey. He's going to begin on Saturday at the border of Mexico on this, you know, several month journey. It could be 5 months, 6 months. And we're going to keep an eye on it. The link to his journey is on our YouTube page. And he's going to actually document content as well. And we're going to stitch that to this interview. And then at the end of it, whenever it may be, we're going to have one more closing discussion. Well, we're going to play this at Impact 23, which is taking place in Newport Beach this year. And we're actually doing this interview from Newport Back Bay, which is one of my favorite places on earth. Very excited for you, Hall, and just know that we also give a lot of credit to your wife, Danica, for supporting this big step. I know you guys have been together for a very long time, and you have had time apart when you were in school. So she's been conditioned. But what an amazing wife you have in Danica and your family, Del, Jan, your brother, James. Everyone loves you, man, and we're so excited for you. And thanks for all that you do for all of us. And we bring you Impact show featuring Hall Roosevelt. About ready to start Pacific Crest Trail. We're so stoked for you, brother. Good luck.
Hey.